Welcome. Alright, let's do this. Uh, hey, my name's Audie. This is the first episode that I've ever done of this. This is my first time doing anything like this, and I'm super excited to get this going. Welcome to the Boruto stream. Uh, why am I doing it? Because I feel like all these people come out here and want to talk about Naruto, and they're all Naruto fans and Naruto heads, and they got into it right around the time of Naruto Shippuden, and then, they watched the anime and they love it, and then they started watching the Boruto anime, and they hated on that because, they're hipsters or they want to be OG or whatever, and that's fine. But the Boruto manga, Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the free time skip manga, is frankly, I think, better than Naruto, the totality of Naruto. The anime, yeah, there's a lot of filler. There's some anime canon, then there's just some straight up filler. Anything in the hidden mist village feels very fillery. And yeah, that's true. But, the entire back half of OG Naruto and then also a ton of Shippuden had a ton of filler too. And frankly, the canon stuff in Boruto's anime, it's just really dope. And in general, I think the Boruto manga is just so good. But Two Blue Vortex, I mean, ever since Kishimoto took back over, it's been amazing. And, shout out to some of the other creators that have been doing this for a long time and have really great content. Naruto Explained is one of the channels that I love to watch and listen to, and um, I'm doing this just to get my theories out, and we'll see if I keep doing it, but hopefully you enjoy it. So, you know, be nice to me, like and subscribe and comment. I'd love to hear your theories. And yeah, let's get this going. So, Chapter 6, Boruto Two Blue Vortex. I guess right before I get into Chapter 6, let me just quickly contextually talk about where we're at with Two Blue Vortex and what the story is, and also contextually what's going on, right? I think that the thing that, um, if you watch the anime and if you understand kind of how cohesive Kishimoto and Ikimoto have tried to be with between the manga and anime, and also, frankly, some of the other content, yeah, like a lot of stuff gets made that isn't canon with Naruto and Boruto, and that's fine. Like I'm a manga canon guy. I don't consider everything in the filler to be canon. But there are multiple places through all of the different medium that really have put a lot of emphasis on Boruto and space time and time travel and um, visions of the future. And so I want to call that out because I think chapter 6 is this place where there's a ton of speculation on what's about to happen and what Boruto is talking about. And there are some things that just haven't been answered yet. To start, why did Boruto come back to Konoha? What is he doing in Konoha? How does he know that Code is about to attack Sarada in Konoha? There are no clear answers to that yet. We haven't gotten that. We know he knows Flying Raijin. We know that he has, incredible instincts, and we know that he can fly. But what we don't know is how the hell did he know that Code was there? Like, he hadn't marked Code yet, to our knowledge, and yet all of a sudden Code pops up into Konoha and Boruto's on his face, like just pop. That's a really cool moment, but we don't have any clarity on why it's happening. And yeah, the anime has given us the Jogan, which we haven't really yet seen outside of technically the first page of the manga or the first chapter of the manga, but like, we don't necessarily know if that's the Jogan or not, because it wasn't drawn that way. And I think that there's been a couple of places where Igimoto's actually mentioned that it is the Jogan, but again, it just hasn't popped its head into our story yet, besides that one scene. So, the closest we've gotten to it so far is when Boruto supposedly turns into Momoshiki after getting his eye slashed and lets Kawaki go. And Sasuke talks to him as if he's Boruto, not as if he's Momoshiki. And it looks to like be the Byakugan in that instance, not the Jogan. So I don't think we have clarity on that. Coming back to where we're at in this story and what Boruto is talking about, when he is in chapter 6, he's fighting with Mitsuki, or Mitsuki's just attacked him, and then he is trying to escape Mitsuki, and he flies off. And before he flies off, he looks down at Sarada, and he says, I swear to save Master Sasuke and everyone else who was turned into trees, as well as ... And then he says, never mind, and flies off. That, he's staring right into her eyes when he says it. He's not looking at Mitsuki. He's not looking at the village. He's not looking at Sumire, who's also there. He's not looking at them collectively. He is looking at Sarada. So why Sarada? How is it that Code is attacking Sarada in the first chapter, and Boruto just magically shows up, and now in this situation again it's Sarada? Is it because of the promise to Sasuke? For sure. But how is he doing that, first of all? And more importantly, why is he doing that? Right? And I think it's that Boruto knows something that we don't. I think that's the obvious answer. And then it's, what does he know? And I think the answer to that is that maybe that he knows that Sarada is going to die. We have seen the coloration on Sarada is really similar to Itachi, who dies. That's blunt and like not really a great way of saying it, but we've seen this, right? There's this kind of sense of foreshadowing of a kind of ultimate sacrifice that Boruto is prepared to make, but then there's lines from the pre-time skip where Momoshiki says that it's the ones that are not affected by Eida Shinjitsu or just the omnipotence in general that suffer the most. And so you've got Sumire, Sarada, and Boruto, who are all suffering in this way, right? I don't think that there's any question in my head that Sarada is under threat here. First of all, she's got Hidari, which is Tree Sasuke, coming after her. We'll see what happens there. But there's also the threat within the village. Kawaki, as soon as he catches wind, to some extent, Damon is a threat to Sarada. And then, of course, like, there are the larger threats, just looming arrival or presence of Shibuya Tsutsuki, right? That can be a threat to Sarada, right? As well as who knows what else. So we know that Momoshiki has some element of visions of the future, and that what we know is that Boruto's experienced them. He saw Mitsuki say, you have managed to truly anger me. Let's call it a day before it happened, or hours before it happened. It's very possible that Boruto himself just got a vision of the future. You know, there's 2 years of time that are unaccounted for. Post Sasuke turning into a tree, we have no idea what happened. We have no idea what went on. We can assume that that's when Kashin Koji popped his head into the picture. That's also when we can assume that Boruto learned a little bit more about the Shinju, right? But I mean, we know to some extent that he's got visions of the future. Like, that is you don't include that unless that it's going to be a larger part of the plot. And I think in that way there is this underlying guilt and also underlying responsibility Boruto has to face there, right? So the other question, right, is the major theory is that he is getting ready to fly away. And what I've seen on a lot of channels is that he's getting ready to fly away, and he says, I swear to save Master Sasuke and everyone else who turned into trees, as well as, and then he looks at Sarada and he's thinking about Naruto and Hinata, and he's about to say their names, and then he says, no, never mind, and then flies off. And in that situation, he's protecting Kawaki, and then he just doesn't want to complicate it or whatever it is, and then he flies off. Okay, so we know that he knows his parents are safe in the Daikukoten. We also know that he wants this to be a quarrel among brothers. And from chapter 1, we know that he's happy and relieved to see that Kawaki has been taking good care of Himawari. So I have a very hard time believing that Boruto is prioritizing saving his parents. I think he thinks that Daikukoten is the safest place for them to be, actually. Like, I'm sure that it's not that he arrogantly thinks lowly of their power, but I think in this moment, I think that there's a convenience to Naruto being gone, right? Naruto would be affected by this Shinjitsu, Ada Shinjitsu, if he was gone, and that's one more threat. He would be having to fight Naruto right now. And so I don't think that Naruto would be able to help him in this situation. And so, in my head, Boruto probably, if just based on the fact that he hasn't appeared to try to get Naruto back up to this point, it's been 3 years, he probably thinks that they're safe in the Daikukoten with Kawaki. And I think we are about to find out that that might not be the case, and then maybe his reaction will change. But based on the information that he himself has right now, that's what I think the situation is. And we have evidence of this, by the way, like that he's got no interest in damaging Kawaki's position within the village as well, because when Team 10 plus Kawaki and Himawari interfere with Boruto versus Code, when they pull up on him, he says, this is a direct quote, he says, "Do you mind not interfering? We're trying to make a deal," which is the most incriminating way when you yourself are a rogue ninja in the village and you're talking to another guy who's a criminal, who's viewed as a criminal, threat level 10, I guess, in the village. You've got these two guys that are probably persona non grata number 1 and number 2 in the village, and they're talking to each other, and he says, "We're trying to make a deal." That is not how you win any sort of popularity contest, certainly, right? You're not exactly alleviating any stress from them. So what you're doing is keeping Kawaki's reputation safe there, right? That's one moment. He doesn't try to call out to Himawari. She calls out to him, but he doesn't say, "Hey, Himawari, do you remember this memory that only, the time we ripped your teddy bear," or whatever it is? He doesn't do anything like that. He just thinks to himself, "I'm glad she's okay," right? He calls to Kawaki. After they're all gone, he says to Kawaki, "You've kept Himawari safe." When Mitsuki attacks Boruto in chapter 6, what does he do? He's covering up his personal items. He's covering them up. Why? Because he, doesn't want Mitsuki to know who he really is. And I think that a lot of people think that Mitsuki's going to find out, or that Mitsuki maybe has already found out. And I think that there's plenty of evidence to go either way, right? That maybe there's that moment of like Naruto and Sasuke and Shippuden where they fight after Sasuke kills Danzo and they speak through their fighting. Okay, great. Like, that's two great shinobi battling each other, and maybe I do think that Mitsuki will start to pick up on the fact that Boruto's not the bad guy because he's pulling punches, right? Because he's not fighting with intent to kill while whooping his ass. And I think Mitsuki is perceptive enough to figure that out. At the same time, there is plenty to suggest that Boruto will whoop his ass just to send the point across, right? Just to throw him off the trail. And so we haven't had any confirmation when Shikamaru asks Boruto in chapter 6, "Are you Boruto Uzumaki?" There's no answer. And I don't think the answer that we get is going to be the answer what everybody wants, which is, "Yes, I am." Like, I'm, or maybe, "Yes, I am, but don't tell Kawaki that don't tell anyone, don't change your, actions at all," or whatever. I think he's going to deny it. And I think he's going to beat the shit out of Mitsuki and then fly off. And that's going to be that, or teleport off. And I think the reason for it, again, is that he's trying to protect Kawaki because he knows that protecting Kawaki in a way is protecting Himawari. In Boruto's eyes, he thinks or knows that Kawaki is actually not a bad guy and that he trusts Kawaki to manage the village. basically manage the safety of the village, being supposedly the strongest guy there, right? All of that to say that I think that, you know, the general uh, kind of consensus of what's going to happen in this next chapter here is that there's people that think that Mitsuki is just going to confront Boruto and say, "Hey, man, are you Boruto?" or "Are you my son?" or whatever it is, and I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I don't think that it's that they're going to communicate through their fighting either. I think maybe that Mitsuki might start to pick up on some things, but I think he's going to get his ass whooped. And I think Boruto's going to do it because he's trying to protect Kawaki's situation in the village. There seems to be a lot of narrative parallels between Boruto and Itachi, and maybe that's the parallel we're talking about, right? So I'll let you ponder that, and if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave me a comment. And please like and subscribe, and yeah, let's engage. All right, toodles.